American Tantrum, the Donald J. Trump Presidential Archives.
I love colon titles.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
I love colon titles. I love everything to be in 900.
Book, colon.
I've had a book colon before. That's rough.
Welcome back to the show. It's You Up with Nikki Glaser. Oh, we've added someone so special to the room today. We have Anthony Atamanuik already here from the documentary, a President Show documentary, The Fall of Donald Trump, which premieres tonight at 11 on Comedy Central. Also with us right now, Ashley Graham.
Hi.
Everyone. Hi.
I was about to put in a cough drop.
I was like, what's she doing? Should I say it? Ashley Graham, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
So happy to be here.
Beautiful bitch.
They are.
I am so excited to meet you and see you. You're just as radiant and lovely in person as I knew you would be.
Thank you.
And you have a new podcast out. You're not only a model, an author, an advocate. You're now a podcaster. Welcome to the club.
Thank you. I mean, it's kind of like an intense club. There's a lot of us.
There's so many podcasts, and everyone goes, "Oh, I'm not going to start a podcast. There's already too many." I'm glad you started one. I listened to it. I listened to your first episode, and I think you are a natural. It was such a fun show to listen to.
Thank you.
The podcast is called Pretty Big Deal. It is available on iTunes, and it came out of the gate a fully formed great show. Like, you feel like the first time you listen to a show, they're finding their bearings and they're figuring it out. You're just like you're a natural host.
Well, thank you. I have to give so much credit to my team because everybody was like, okay, this is the structure of a show, and then this is what we do, and this is how you ask questions. And I was like, I don't know what you're saying structure is, so I'm just going to go ask a bunch of questions. And they were like, okay. And we just kind of went in there and was like, well, that's how you not do it. So this is how you do it. And then we put a little bit of structure. And now I know what structure is.
Gotcha. So, but like, so you had to mess up. You did like test runs and stuff like that.
I did one test run with my best friend, which was the worst idea ever because I know too much about her, which I didn't know that was going to be a bad idea.
Who's your best friend?
Rachel Ashaloo. She's a real estate agent. I've known her since I was 17. I was her first client, and she was my first client, whatever. And we ended up living together, and now she's just been my ride or die.
Gotcha.
However, I was like, so tell me about that time in 2010 when you da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, bitch, if you ask me that ever again on camera, I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, oh, can't talk about that one. So, yeah.
It's better, yes. Will we ever see that episode or hear
no,
that episode?
We burnt it. Are you kidding me?
That's
burned.
Well, your first episode is with Kim Kardashian West. And I went into it being like, what am I going to think about this? Do I even care? I feel like I know everything I need to know.
Everybody thought that.
And you did a fantastic job. First of all, I got to know you a lot through it, which I think is important as a host, but you didn't overtake the conversation with like, I felt like I knew both of you by the end of it, and I really, really love her in a way that I didn't before.
She was so open and just real, and I definitely got a few stories that none of us have heard.
Yes.
And I thought that was fantastic. But I was such a fangirl in the beginning. I was like, and then you were wearing this with this with this dress and like this hair, and I knew the hairdresser that did da-da-da-da. Afterwards, I was like, oh my God, I'm that idiot that totally went in. But the interview was so much fun. We put our feet up. We had a great time.
Yeah, you really brought out a side of her which was that I had never seen before, which she was super intelligent and just open and didn't seem to be trying to
impress anybody or be anybody else.
Or like say
but that's
the right
thing
things.
About Kim. Like, she is a mogul. She is super intelligent, and she has done so much to get to where she is. And if you think about it from like where she started to who she is today, like that's not that's totally unheard of for someone like that to have a career and be where she is. And so I praise her every day, not like how I praise God, but like praise Jesus.
Start every morning with a Kim verse,
right? And then she say it.
You and your husband do Kim Kardashian study.
But I have to say, like, she is definitely a role model when it comes to business.
Yeah, no, I remember reading about her that she really young found a way to resell boots on eBay. I mean, before anyone, and she made thousands of dollars as a high school student. Just she's a savvy businesswoman. And the Kanye West story that he gave her $1 million
on Mother's Day.
So get this.
I don't know this.
So this
What
is
this
You guys
insane.
didn't listen to
I
my
didn't-
podcast?
I'm really
you didn't
sorry.
research?
You will learn a new
I-
side of Kim Kardashian
I
that you
wanna hear
didn't
this,
know. Okay, so how did it begin? Because she wanted to.
Okay, I'll tell the story.
Yes, please. Sorry, I know what.
So
how it
there
ends.
was a brand that wanted to pay Kim $1 million, but it all looks kind of like easy.
Mm-hmm.
So Kim asked Kanye, like, do you think it's okay? It's a lot of money. And he was like, I'd rather you not. And she was like, you know what? Because I love you and because, you're my husband, I'm going to honor that. Cut to Mother's Day. A man walks into the kitchen, like, I don't know, I imagine him wearing like a bow tie, hands her an envelope. And I'm like, first of all, who let this man into your home? Right? Like, isn't that a little creepy? Anyways, so hands her an envelope and it's $1 million check from Kanye. And then it's also a contract with equity within Yeezy. And so he was like, thank you for always like riding with me and not taking that job. Here's $1 million.
Oh my God, I love that.
So many things about that story I love is that $1 million doesn't seem like a lot to Kim Kardashian, but it was. She's still like, I
She
want
was
$1
like,
million.
that's a lot of money.
I want
And
this.
the contract is the biggest. I mean, that's crazy.
The contract,
Yeah, but having that discussion with your husband and being like, I want this is a lot of money. We have kids, we have a life. Can you let me do this?
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, I'd rather you not. And she goes, okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
And she did. It's just that was like such a
Loyalty.
really cute story. You've been with your husband for 8 years.
8 years we've been married.
That is insane. How long have you been
Thank you.
together?
9.
Oh,
We
wow.
only dated
Oh, wow.
a year.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, why did that happen so fast? And
Well,
how did you know?
There was a few things. So we met at church, and then I was like, I don't want a boyfriend. And then he was like, well, I'm going to be your boyfriend. And then I fell in love with him. And we
Yeah.
waited till we were married to have sex. So that was something also that kind of sped the process up.
Sure.
I
like that you admit it.
Of course I'm going to admit it because I wasn't a virgin. I knew what I was missing.
Right.
Oh, so you weren't a virgin, but you
No,
with your
we
husband
weren't virgins.
Why did
no.
you guys decide then? You both weren't virgins?
My ex-boyfriend was so terrible, and I realized that I was giving so much of myself up to men who were not deserving of me. And as a girl who was just dating all over New York City, and I would have like a boyfriend for 3 months here, a boyfriend for 6 months there, and then and then I got into a really nasty relationship with a guy. I was like, I'm giving it up too soon, and I'm not making these guys work for it. I'm not valuing who I am. So the next guy I date, he's not getting any of this until at least I see a ring on my finger. Then I decided it's not even just a ring. It's got to be like the wedding day. So then I met my husband, and sure enough, we met in church. It made it a lot easier because we had the same belief system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't have to convince someone like, no, trust me, like it's going to work out. But it's worked out. We've been married for 8 years.
I love this story because it is validating everything that I am doing with my life now, which
Really?
is like,
Are you celibate?
I'm pretty much you don't get anything until, and it's not even marriage for me, but it's until
everybody's
you prove
different.
yourself. But it's like, you set your own kind of parameters, but I'm done being this girl. I think we grow up as women, thinking we've been sold this lie about blue balls and how if a guy doesn't finish, he's going to hate us and he's going to be mad at us and we're going to be bad women. And it's not men that are necessarily perpetuating this. It's just something that has gotten to our consciousness as women that they need. If you engage in a hookup with a guy, if he doesn't finish, then there's something
Then
wrong.
you did
with
something
you did
mean to
something
him.
wrong, and he might not call you. He might not get you an Uber home, or whatever.
And you know
it is.
what? Usually if you don't finish him off, then he does call you.
Exactly. And when you do finish, because you finish them
That's
off
true.
Right?
over and over, and you realize even when you do finish them, they still don't. They do all those things anyway. They talk bad about you behind your back.
Men
and
are
all the things.
hunters. They want something to hunt, and they also want something to kind of to be able to say, I got her, and I did it the right way. And that was something that I learned in dating at least half of the assholes in New York City.
Yeah, I it's my new thing, and I like to hear that you actually waited till marriage, and that this wasn't you had already had sex before. You knew what you were missing out on,
A
but
lot
you
of it.
knew that having sex, it's like
It's also
you
the
need-
person.
you need to
It's
keep
the person
something.
too. It's who the person is.
Yes.
I'm just sex alone with someone is not necessarily an intimate act. So, like, it has to be with the person that you care about. I can't believe I'm participating in this guy, but it's true. I mean, I think that intimacy, 90% of intimacy is about, your eyes, your touch, and all the things that matter around that.
Yep.
Just tickling the pickle is like the sort of neural sort of discharge part of it that's totally different. And I mean a lot of discharge. I have a lot of discharge.
Wait, I think I vomited in my mouth.
But it's so. How did that go over? Was he like, I'm down, and then you guys got married? Was
No,
the
he
wedding
was
night
down.
You had sex
amazing?
before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you both were just like, this is what we're gonna do. together. Okay.
He was down, and I don't know, it just worked. And then so we made a deal where we wouldn't sleep over at each other's homes because we knew if we did, then hello, morning wood, morning.
Yeah,
we know how it goes down.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we did these 24-hour dates where he would pick me up, and it would be in the evening. We would spend the whole night out, just like walking around the city or going to shows, going, 24-hour diners. Then we would spend the whole day together. And it was like we really got to know each other, and we built this friendship that you cannot destroy because our trust, our communication is so on point that today, like, we can literally just be so blunt with each other and then just go right into lovey-dovey mode.
Right. And by these 24-hour dates, you mean that you weren't alone in a place, in a bedroom together?
Yeah.
You would keep
I mean,
it
we
out
would sometimes go over to each other's homes and watch movies or just hang out, but we weren't
setting
sleeping
yourself
in the
up.
same bed. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Because you're right. It will happen if you put yourself in that position because you get horned up enough, you start making deals with yourself.
Because we
where
were
you go,
making out.
listen, he's not going to be weird after this. I'm just going to do it. And I just can't. If you do have sex with someone too soon, girls who are listening, it's okay. You can always get that power back, but just try to hold out as long as you can. It's never a bad idea. It really is never a bad idea. I've never seen it backfire on a girl to hold back, to not text first, to not withhold sex. I mean, it is withholding, but you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it to punish him.
I don't think it's withholding when you haven't already given it.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's a really good point.
It's like it's not yours.
It also shouldn't be transactional, personally.
Yeah,
I think that the whole idea should be you want to weed out the pressuring toxic masculinity and sort of garbage that floats around.
And that's exactly what happened to me. I started dating guys, and they were like, "What? You're waiting?" I was like, well, "Why?" And then they would try to hook up with me. I'm like, "No, you don't understand."
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't call me back.
Yeah.
And you weed through the guys who just want to have sex with you.
Yes, it doesn't always you saying I'm not gonna have sex with you doesn't always work. It's not like that guy's just gonna chase you to the end of the world.
No.
They'll give up if they're not really
that's part
messing
of
They're
it.
not
with
all
you.
that thirsty.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
that
I
is-
think if there are people who like to have a lot of sex and they all like it and all those people meet each other and they're fine without commitment, I'm saying those folks should go for it too. I don't
Yes.
think there's one right way, but I think that
Yeah.
the problem is that, or at least hearing what you're saying, is the worst one is the sort of pressuring and the blue balls and come on and I can do it. And the thing that all of any young man who's passed through their 20s, especially if you grew up in the 70s and 80s, that was like the language you were taught too as a man. And like, it's a hard one to undo and you have to undo it.
I feel like
all the men out there, undo it.
I feel like anyone who went through the DARE program also was given this a side like propaganda session of blue balls and how if you want a guy to like you, he's got to finish. And I'm talking to myself here, by the way, and hearing you are like an angel to me right now because I already look up to you, and to hear you say that's your relationship has been 8 years strong now, which is to be a young girl married for 8 years is something to celebrate.
We got married when I was 22.
That's crazy. And you can tell the way you speak of him.
I'm 30.
You can tell how good your marriage is. I mean, I'm just
and that's the
projecting,
other
but-
thing. Like, marriage is not an easy road. Like, you've got your peaks and your valleys, and you just have to remember, like, are you both committed? Are you both going to stay in this? And I think that the other thing that people don't talk about is the highs and lows in marriage, and especially when you're younger. And our 5th year was our hardest year. It was because we didn't get to see each other very much. And we fought, and we were like, what are we doing? Why are we married? Like, what's the whole situation? And I think that if you remember, you made a commitment to each other, and if you both work your asses off to stay committed, to stay connected, to stay communicating, there's nothing that can tear you up. Unless if one of you
What is the work? Give me one specific thing that is the work.
So, okay.
Because you hear that.
So when my husband and I have an argument, that tension that's still left in the air where you're like, okay, we're over it, but we're still pissed at each other.
You're like slamming
the
drawers.
spirit of
Yeah.
the fight.
And you're
like,
like,
the
yeah.
fight is disembodied from
Yes.
you,
And you're
and
like,
it just exists.
There's nothing else to discuss.
Right.
But you're both said you're sorry. So we have this game where we play the nice game. And whoever says, let's play the nice game, the other person has to say something nice about the other one. So like if I say to Justin, let's play the nice game, he has to say something nice about me, and then I have to say something nice about him. It cannot be physical because we're both attracted to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be something that's like surface level, like I really like how you clean the dishes today.
Right.
Okay.
Right? So, and if you're the person who doesn't say the nice thing, then you're the first person on the face of the earth that ever cheated on the nice game. Right? So then we shun each other. Like, it's like, oh, okay, you're the first person ever.
So you
have
lost
to.
this game.
Yes. So you have to say something nice. And what that does is it creates this like loving connection again, because you have, it's kind of like saying affirmations, or it's kind of like saying gratitude to your day. And telling this person, like, thank you for supporting me through this decision, or thank you so much for, taking the time to care for me, and whatever it is. And it's like, okay, all right, we're back to square one and everything's fine.
Yeah,
That's
the nice
good.
game. I love that.
But
I
you
like that
have
a
to
lot.
you have to be so selfless when you're married, because everything is about that person and vice versa. Every guard has to go down. And that is something that's very, very hard for people.
and
Yes.
hard to maintain and do.
Yes.
And a lot of
Yeah.
times you fail at it, but you
Of course.
try.
Of course.
And I think the other one is there are things about your partner that you'll just never will like.
Yeah.
Like there are certain things that
The
you just-
80-20
yeah.
rule when you're dating.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule?
I haven't, but I can guess. But tell me.
So if you're dating someone, really, truly, like it has to be like 80% of what this person gives that you're obsessed with. The other 20% is kind of like, okay, whatever, I'll just deal with it.
Right.
But if it's like 70% is great and 30% is like, oh, hell no, then
Bye-bye.
you have to walk away, because that 30%
Whoa.
will get under your skin.
Oh,
But
You'll
you can
destroy
you can
it
take
eventually.
20.
Yes.
You'll destroy
But
it
20%,
eventually.
because no
it's
one's
hard
perfect.
to math that out, though.
Yeah.
Like, are you making
You
a chart?
figure it out.
Yeah.
Well,
You
the best
figure it
thing
out.
is
Yeah.
experiencing when you go, oh, the relief of going, I don't have to fix this. I'm not here to change it.
Yes.
This is just a part of them, and I just got to accept it and stop being crazy about it.
Mhm.
And in our thing, we do can I make a confession? And a confession is when you say something you're feeling and your partner does not comment, respond, or anything. You just say it, and then you go, I'm done. And then and the thing is, because like being listened to, right, is like the
Yes.
number one thing that gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Is truly being listened to.
Mhm.
And you want to fix because you love and you want to try to do. And so it's a really good way of going, I got to make a confession. I'm really anxious about going to this party and doing this thing. And then you just let it go, because sometimes you just want to say it. It's not about it
Yes.
being fixed. You just want to
And
say
not be
it.
judged. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to be
I love that.
heard. I think when I look back on my relationships and I'm kind of like getting back together with someone I've been with for off and on for
Why?
6 years. Because I'm realizing the 80-20 thing, and I'm realizing I always broke up because of the 20, and that the 80 really, I've dated other people, and I have a joke about it, but when I date other people, I look at my ex and I go, oh my God, he's the best I can do. Like, because I feel like I did really well 5 years ago, and I've dated since then, and you just compare and you go, no, that was pretty great. What am I doing? And he's grown over time, and I've grown over time. But something that I really didn't realize, and I think would help in a marriage or a long-term relationship, is honestly just empathy and being like, they're a different person than I
Yeah.
am, and they're interpreting everything from a different perspective. I don't know why I never even grasped that until this year, but literally I just, every time we would get in a fight, I'm like, I only saw things from, why doesn't he see, I would never treat him that way, so he must not love
That
me.
has to do with
That's insane.
your love language.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like doing this like love counseling
Dude,
right now.
see, I told you, you're good.
Yeah.
Have
yeah.
you guys ever read the 5 love languages?
Yeah.
I know of it.
No.
Okay, we read it on our honeymoon because we're dorks.
Whoa.
And my love language is acts of service, and his is physical touch and time spent. Like, I could never touch you. Like, maybe we'll have sex, like, and it'll be great, but don't come in. I don't want to be touched when I walk in the door, and I don't need to speak to you.
Yeah.
He needs both of those things.
Oh, yeah. I
Men
need-
usually
Yeah.
do.
I'm like, touch me.
Yeah,
for
and they
God's
want to
sake.
spend time. And I'm like, okay, if you got everything on the to-do list done, if you booked that vacation, if you did da-da-da-da for me, then like, oh my God, I'll do anything you want me to.
Whoa.
Interesting.
So this love language is like you love the way that you want to be loved, and he's loving you the way he wants to be loved. So you have to understand each other's love language in order to love that person. Like, because I'm like, well, why would you want me to touch you all the time? That's ridiculous.
Because you don't want to be
annoying.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And he's like, no, please rub my head. I love it. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. But now when I rub his head, then he does all the things I want him to do.
The love language book is legit.
It's huge.
Yes.
And it people have such a even me, and I'm working on having empathy, and I realize it's something that you put yourself in someone else's shoes, but I only have my shoes, and it's so hard to imagine other shoes. But that is one way to do it, is to just read that book on your honeymoon.
Yeah.
I think
And
it's got to have helped.
It did. It really did.
And the human psyche is a congress. So in a way, you can understand or empathize in the sense that there's a part of you that is more representative of that other person. It's just the captain that drives the ship. The part of you that's you is the primary part. But there's all these other shades and parts. So when you're interacting with your partner, you're also playing out all of your family systems, all of the different relationships you've had throughout your life. So it's a complex mess that sometimes works out, and if if it's really good, you get dinner.
Yeah.